we're talking about young adults and next gen ministry. Really, next gen ministry is 0 to 25, if you ask me. Next gen includes Alpha Gen at the elementary level, right? Next gen is Go Pack. Come on, Isaiah, really? Then you have junior high, which really Alpha Gen is 13 right now. And some of the studies that are coming out are showing us their stats. We just did an article on the website with some findings and research from Alpha Gen. But anyway, junior high and high school predominantly Gen Z, and then most of college too, because really Gen Z goes to about 23, 20, it depends on the sociological model, right? Some of them are a little less, but so really Gen Z now is college, high school, and junior high. And I'm like, we're sending our kids back to school. Some have been back for a month. Some just came back in the past week. And what better way to transition, because I know you have a passion for transitions of that high school student into college. Okay, here's the first question for Josiah. With this time right now, this season that we're in this moment that we're in, with all of the students going back to school, I want you to unpack the importance of youth ministry and that kind of programming that we do and the work that we do, as you just said, building that 18 to 21-year-old, right? Well, they're 18 and they walk on, or 17 and they walk onto a college campus. The one thing I've said many, many times, you may have heard me say this, Josiah, our college campuses are, half of them are teenagers. We tend to think that they're 22, 23, 24, 25, and some of them in graduate school are, but the first 2 years of them are still teenagers.
Yep.
And so how can youth ministry, okay, at the junior high and high school, probably more that high school level, what is that critical role that they play in that 85%, right? And the kids not losing their faith and that transition. Will you talk about the importance of youth ministry and the transition into college?
Oh my
I know,
gosh.
right?
I look at, like, my life was radically transformed through a mentoring discipleship relationship with my youth pastor. And I remember getting keys to my first car. It was a Jeep when I was 16, could have gone anywhere. And that's the moment that I tell people that my faith became my own, because up until that point, it's kind of your parents' faith. If you're
Yes.
church going people, like, they're the ones driving. But when you get the keys, how does anyone know? Like, I was at least not tracked. You couldn't tell where I was going. I could have gone anywhere, but I went to church, and it was, and here's the craziest thing, Jeff, that I might have ever read is, it's from Kinnaman and Barna Group. 2/3 of Gen Z does not know a caring adult. That's 66%, the vast majority of the students you just described in the youth ministries of America. They don't have a pastor, a parent, a friend, a neighbor, a coach, like no caring adult in their life.
If you just joined us, we're with Josiah Keneally from Young Adults Today. We're talking next gen young adults, and we are talking about the transition from high school into college. And the question was, I see Elliot just joined, and Barnabas, and Sean, and Amelia, and Beavis, man. The question was this: listen. What is the importance of the youth ministry and how it plays in the role of preparing kids for college? And the first thing he said was that personal mentoring role and how it impacted him. Wow, what a great way to start that.
Oh my gosh! But when I read that from Kinnaman and Barna, that 2/3 of students don't have that, I think that is why places like the church and youth ministry, that can make one caring adult can make all the difference, being the hands and feet of Jesus. And so, man, I think that then it's like young people today are asking questions about faith and life and theology and adulting. And so much of what young people want is to function in the real world. And either it's nobody taught them, and they're YouTubing it, and they're searching on Google, how do I make friends, which is at an all-time high record right now. But I think if we can teach people the practical life skills, I'm talking budgeting, I'm talking
Good.
personal finances, and of course, faith, of course,
Yes.
theology. The
Yes.
Bible actually gives us the best framework for these teachings. And man, I just think that when you can impact a young person and help them thrive,
Yeah.
and then they get to college and it's like a nexus launching pad, like a trampoline where they go to the next level, and it's not they fall off a cliff without a parachute.
Mhm.
I think that's the role that youth ministry can play in the
Good.
lives of young people.
Man, you mentioned so many things there. The that mentoring relationship first, and structure and finances. I know you wrote a book on this, helping college kids graduate debt free, right? With just little effort, with little effort, instead of pulling out all the loans, right? And do your work now, obviously, right? So that you can get these
Yep.
scholarships, but then you work in a part-time job of 20 hours a week. You know, though I've read your book, so I love that. Scott joined us, Gretchen, Luke, Tevin, Trevin, man, thank you. So the first question to Josiah Keneally with Young Adults Today, please go follow him. He's a great resource to young adult leaders. And the first question was, what is the role of youth ministry, and what role youth ministry plays in preparing disciples for college, right? And we know that the home is such a major part of this too. You know, I truly believe that whatever youth ministry has done the last 20 years, we need to stop doing and do something else because it didn't work. And that's a whole nother
Wow.
broadcast. That's a whole nother broadcast. You know, when you look at the numbers, you know, okay, we don't have the time for that. But my listeners have heard us talk about this in a major way. So, second question, Josiah. So we talk about the role of youth ministry and how it played. What is the role of on-campus ministries, parachurch ministries? We could go through and name many of them right now. Campus Crew, right?
Hmm.
Fellowship of Christian Athletes, Chi Alpha, etc. There are so many great, even denominational efforts and Jesus clubs, right, etc.
Yep.
What is the role? Help students out maybe that are freshmen right now, and maybe they joined us, or they're going to watch this, and they're like scratching their head, going, "Wow, youth group was great, and I'm lost already. I'm in my first semester, and I'm lost already." Help some freshmen to get connected to a parachurch setting.
Man, I think that we need the local church and we need on
Mm,
campus. Having done both, my experience when I was working on staff at a church, it's like the expectation was like, okay, you're coming to us. We're
mm,
putting on the event. We have our
great.
weekly service, but it's come to us. And then if you take that model onto a college campus, we tried that for a second and it didn't work. Like nobody's coming to us. It's
Right.
you go to them. It's
Yes.
their table, it's their territory, and it's on their time schedule. And so I think that the role of it is this is the extension of the local church to be right on campus. And this is for far too long, the college campus has been the devil's playground.
Mm,
And so if we want to be the hands and feet of Jesus that reach an unreached generation, an unchurched generation, there may be no more strategic model than
yeah.
going to a college campus.
Right.
Like, what would Jesus' ministry today have looked like? Or an apostle like Paul, where would he be planting churches?
Good.
I happen to think
Good.
he'd be going to where the idea, the thought leadership is happening. And the wave starts in the student section. So
Good.
that's where I mean, just
So
influence
good.
starts is on a college campus. And then there's a ripple and a trickle effect
Yes.
in a culture and
I,
society.
I hope you all heard what Josiah Keneally just said. We are talking with the Young Adults Today founder and director. He has his own podcast. He resources young adult leaders all over the country, and we're talking about the preparation of our students who are right now in their first semester back this fall. That responsibility and getting connected to the parachurch setting and the ministries that are on campus already. You don't have to start all over and start your own thing, man, and be an entrepreneur with this. Somebody's at your campus.
Yep.
And And if you get a hold of them, he can find that out. I mean, we could do the same thing, but we have Josiah on there for a reason. If you're going to college in Indiana or you're going to college in Vegas, all we got to do is look up the ministries that we are familiar with. And Devanya, thanks for joining us, and Jeremy and Donovan, Nathaniel. Man, listen,
Jeremy.
isn't this great? So
Yes.
the one thing that I've learned with college ministry, and you alluded to this, and maybe we can go a little deeper on this. Let's take another minute and hit this. But the one thing that I've learned, and when you said it, I was just like, yes, man. I was like, preach, Josiah. I think somebody actually put it on there. And by the way, if you have a question, please, boom, 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 send it right down there, okay? And we'll get it up and we'll ask Josiah that, because we have about 10 more minutes, 12 more minutes. So anyway, you had just made that quick statement about connecting, and I think sometimes it's hard for the student to go and seek out, and that's where leadership has to be. We have to be willing to go there and do and take the wall away, right, and approach people. And the one thing that I've always felt like is that too many in youth ministry and too many in the church are always saying that they have their signs in the parking lot, and that's great if they get to the parking lot, but there's no signs on the street, and there's no signs at the school campus, and there's no signs at the bar, there's no signs at the grocery store or at the gym or at the right. And merch, we're in merch. And man, a powerful story of Greg Ford, who started one church in Columbus, Ohio. It's hard for me to even say Ohio. I'm a Michigan fan, Ohio. That anyway, started the church from scratch.
Wow.
As from a gym. And he goes in and gets a job at the front desk and meets everybody in the area. And they all start coming to his church by invitation. And now the church has exploded because of what you are just saying. Leaders, listen, give me 30 more seconds and I'll tee you up with your thoughts. Dick Brogdon. Many of us know Live Dead and Dick Brogdon. I'm on a plane and I walk on the plane and I'm going to Chicago, and he's sitting like I was a row behind him, but his seat was open right next to him. So I just sat down and hoped nobody came, and they didn't. And we talked from Springfield, Missouri to Chicago. And this is what he said to me. He said, "Why are youth leaders in the church not on campus? I don't understand." He said, these are his words, if a missionary came to America and saw youth ministry standing on the edge of their church campus saying, come, 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 missionaries would be like, you got this wrong. How about go, go, go? Talk about that.
Well, I mean, wow. First of all, like the difference, if we are Christ followers, we believe in the power of prayer, and the difference that a prayer walk, Mark Batterson, he said that the difference of prayer is our best versus God's best.
Yes.
And why would we not invite God's best onto a college campus? Like I said earlier, it's been the devil's playground for far too long. So what if we adopted campuses? What if we use that language of, this is a chosen campus, this is an adopted campus, this is God's territory, and believe that we are pushing back darkness and bringing the light. And then not to mention the relational component. Our lives with Christ, it's like it could be summed up of our relationship with God and then our relationship with each other. And I think that the more time we spend on campus, the more miracles and divine appointments are going to happen. It will happen. And I just wonder how many college students right now are waiting for a new friend. They're waiting for somebody to invite them to something. They're just hoping to not be alone this coming Friday night, this weekend. And man, you know, it's so powerful, the difference that one invitation into eternity makes. One invitation to a small group, one invitation to a coffee, and then think through people like what's their next step. But I'm inspired by what you said about Greg Ford's church. And it actually reminded me of the Great Opportunity study that Pine Tops Foundation put out. And they said that there's 42 million young people that are projected to leave Christianity by 2050. But if there were 6 adjustments that we, the church, made, it would save 20 million young people
Can you give
in the
us one
coming.
of those?
For sure, one of them is this right here. It's reaching new online digital audiences.
Man.
And just like getting onto a college campus, just like getting onto in youth, high school or middle school campus. Um, I don't know about you, but I know Jeff loves sports, and so do we. So like as a family
Mm,
going, or just I think one of the things that youth leaders lead the way in is celebrating students. If it's a choir concert,
mhm.
going, showing up. Like it's
Yeah.
back to that caring adult piece.
Yes.
And I just think that, so Pine Tops, they put out the great opportunity, they called it.
Mm,
And they asked the question, where is the modern day 2024 digital Billy Graham
yeah.
or digital Martin Luther or digital George Whitfield? And, you know, there's a pastor in New York City by the name of John Tyson. He read this study and he went to his board at his church and he's like, hey, I need a new budget line item,
Okay.
and it is to train up 10 Gen Z. I
Mhm.
want to do a new form of discipleship. And he
Yes.
goes, it's going to be on TikTok. And he just caught this vision that back to school, there would be subways, like students on the subways,
Yeah.
like riding to school in New York City, and they would be getting saved because they saw a compelling gospel presentation right on their TikTok.
Man.
And so he's not talking about his preaching clips. He will theologically train these apprentices, these
Great.
interns, to put their face, their voices, their ideas to their
I
generation.
love it.
And I think that's what the great opportunity is
I
all
love
about.
it. I just saw a comment from Scott Emrine, one of my friends. Um, he made the statement, digital can still be relational,
Oh yeah.
right? We know that. Like what we're doing now. We're just Grace students just joined us. Last week I preached there. Last week they have Sunday night service, and listen, one of the things that I learned there in Indianapolis at Grace was the power of a good social program, a good media footprint, right? And whoever said that wasn't ministry has not been on then, and helped this to be as warm and relational and human as possible, right? I mean, hopefully those that join us, we hit the wave on everybody. I saw Seda joined us, Pastor Mike joined us. Um, I want them to know that this is a discussion, so listen, we have 5 minutes, and if you have a question, put it in there, right down there. I've got another question for Josiah, but I'm going to stall just about 30 seconds. If you got a question, send us up a question for Josiah. Again, we're talking to Josiah Keneally. He is with young adults today, and it is a powerful resource ministry to college students and college leaders. Okay, so Miss Scott, thank you for joining us too. All right. Let me give you this last question. If I see another question come up, Josiah, I'll grab it. But and this one could probably be quick. Give me one or two creative ways that you have reached out on the college campus. One or two creative ways that maybe you've heard, and like what we're doing right now, and reposting this, right? Um, uh, Apple cider, and bonfires, and all these things that go on. Cleaning up after homecoming, and having the small group clean up. I mean, there's so many different things to do. Give us one or two creative ways that students, let's talk specifically to our campus missionaries,
Yep.
how they can be a light on the campus right now. Is it merch in the classroom? Is it writing papers that have to do with Christian theology and the explosion of revival? All of us know the Great Awakenings, 1 and 2, 1750 to 1850, started on the college campus
Wow.
and impacted multi-denominations that we have today. The denomination we're in today was impacted by students. Revival on the campus at a small little Bible college in Topeka, Kansas, that then went down to Hot Springs, Arkansas, and then anyway. So give us one or two ways that our campus missionaries can be a light.
Oh my gosh. Well, they already are. The fact that they stay up late with a broken heart and wake up early
Oh.
with a fire in their
Mm.
bones, ready to share the gospel message of Jesus with a lost and broken, hurting. And so I think bringing hope, I would say a few of our favorite, one is like a fall retreat. We're in fall when it's like pumpkin spice lattes and back to school and fall leaves, all that. But I think a fall retreat is huge. One of my favorite parts of that is a cereal slosh, where you bring all the different types of cereals and then milk or almond milk, and just let students kind of have that nostalgia. I don't know about you, Jeff, but what's your favorite cereal?
Man, okay, don't laugh. Grape nuts. I love
Okay,
anything grain, anything
okay.
grain.
So for me, gosh, I don't even know. I could be cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. There's a lot, but at a cereal slash, I think that just relationships can happen. And have you noticed that if people have, like, maybe it's a sparkling water in their hand,
Mm.
or if they're making new relationships and they're eating B-dubs or they're eating something, a slice of pizza or cereal, like it just makes the awkward moments a little bit less awkward. And I think that that's one, a fall retreat. I think
Mm.
that, um, man, bringing hope, a message of hope
Hope.
onto a college campus, I think that would be my favorite one. And it could be over lunch. I remember when we were trying to get onto a really hard to reach campus, pizza made a way,
Pizza.
but you couldn't bring your own pizza. It was buying their pizza and serving it to students. But I think just honoring the authority
Mm.
that's there is
Mm.
huge. And just bringing a message of hope for every
Good.
person, every small group, every class that you're allowed into, or every large gathering.
Good. Good. Creative ways to be a witness.